All right, Ravens flock, what's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are enjoying your day. So we are back for another recap of training camp. Today was a bit of an interesting day. Of course, it started off with us talking about Isaiah Likely's injury and getting the report about that. And then later on, John Harbaugh in his press conference confirming that Isaiah Likely is getting surgery and his timetable is estimated to be able to return by week 1, but we will see how that progress goes through. So, sombering news, but still a sigh of relief that he's not going to be out for the season. Now we can actually talk about practice since practice has occurred. We'll speak about practice and then we'll just go from there and prepare for tomorrow and then how things are going to stack up for the next few days. So let's actually talk about practice. As you all know, I've been taking notes every day in terms of what the reports have been and what's been happening out there so that we can sit back, discuss it, and cover it here. So let's start off with special teams. I think that's the place we always got to start off with. Tyler Loop kicked today. He was 9 of 9. His longest field goal made today in practice was from 53 yards out. So Tyler Loop once again comes out here. A perfect day from him in practice in terms of kicking. He's only had one day where he wasn't perfect. That was the day he missed 3 kicks. He was 5 for 8. But other than that, Tyler Loop has showcased a level of consistency. We know he has the leg power because he hit from 60 plus. So we know he has the capability of hitting from far distances. It's all about stacking those days of being consistent. In terms of the battle, again, this is really Tyler Loop's battle to lose. You know, he would have to be egregious in order for him to lose this kicking job. I don't see him losing that, but again, we never know how things are going to go. We will say this every day until the preseason game starts and goes, but this competition is between him and Hoyland is going to be determined by how both perform in the preseason in terms of being in game pressure situations and how they kick in those situations. But right now, in terms of camp alone, Loop has been the guy that's just been doing his thing in being consistent, and he's pretty much made all of his kicks other than the one day where he missed 3. So he's been consistent, and again, this is his job to lose, and I don't really see him losing out unless he's so egregious in the preseason. That would be a conversation that has to be made. In terms of practice today, this was a really rough day for the offense. Penalties here and there, a lot of drops, just not really gelling. Now, to be fair, the offense itself wasn't exactly the offense you would normally see. For one, Isaiah Likely's out, but there's also some other stuff. Zay Flowers is dealing with a minor injury, but it's one of those camp injuries that's going to take him out. So I don't exactly know if he's going to be at practice tomorrow, but we'll wait and see. It's not major. It's not a serious injury. It's one of those camp injuries. So it could be a soft tissue thing. We didn't get an official report about that, but yeah, Zay Flowers is dealing with a minor injury. And I'm assuming because of Isaiah Likely's injuries that some of the vets were also kind of limited in practice today, because it was reported that some of a good chunk of the vets, they were limited in practice. They weren't participating. They weren't participating in all the aspects of practice. It really seemed like it was a semi-day off for the veterans, but not really a day off. Like, to just name 2 other people, Rashad Bateman and Ronnie Stanley, they weren't really huge participants in practice. Their reps were limited, and it seemed like there was a lot of action. They actually went live today with the third strings, which allowed them to really go out there and just be able to tackle and actually just play. So that was an interesting aspect. But in terms of the veterans, the ones, they weren't really majorly involved as much as you would have normally see them involved in practice. So, you know, seeing some of the veterans not out there completely makes sense for why the offense was looking shaky, committing penalties, and so and so. But yeah, there's not much to speak about for the offense today because it wasn't really an offensive day for them. It was really a day where they got dominated by the defense, and it makes sense when some of your veterans aren't playing. There's no Likely out there, there's no Flowers out there, Bateman's limited, Ronnie Stanley's not even out there playing. Bateman's limited because his reps were limited, same for Ronnie Stanley. Just have to clarify that they weren't hurt, they just had limited participation in training camp practice today. So yeah, a lot of the veterans are just not out there to an extent, so it makes sense why the offense would also be limited to perform as poorly as they did. A good aspect to see, LaJohntay Western, he was making some plays in practice today. He was catching everything that was thrown his direction, which is exactly what you need him to do. At the end of the day, You build and stack on these days. If you can perform well, the ball's going your way and you're making those catches, you're helping your case out to be able to try to be an impactful player on this offense, or be a role player one way or another and be able to contribute to this offense. So it's great to see Western making plays, and it's great to hear his name and see that he's doing well in training camp. He's been having a pretty decent training camp so far, but today was one of those highlight days where he actually got to make a good chunk of catches. Obviously, because you're not getting Zay out there and Bateman's limited, so it makes sense for some of these other guys to step up. But it is great to see Western's name, and it's great to see that he's just making plays out there. This was more so of a defensive day than an offensive day, and you know what? I'm fine with it. I'm the one that came out and said, I hope the Ravens defense dominates in training camp. Well, so far through training camp, it has been the defensive show. One day has just been dominated by the offense, and I believe that was yesterday. But other than that, it's really just been a defensive not even defensive just a defensive takeover. The defense has been dominating so far through training camp. I hope it continues, but we need to see more and more of those days where the offense wins. I think a great indication of what this offense could be capable of, or at least a great day for them to be on the positive side, will be on Tuesday of next week, when they actually get to face off against another team, because that's their joint practice with the Colts. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, offensively, not much to say there. Defensively, there's a few names that came up. One, Teddy Buchanan. Teddy Buchanan got to be active today. We got to see a lot from him. He was actually making some great stops. He had a great run stuff against Justice Hill, so it's great to hear his name come up again. That is another rookie that you're looking at and hoping he can be a contributing factor to that defense. So it's great to see him being active and making plays. TJ Tampa's been having a pretty solid training camp, but the last 2 days he's really ramped it up a little bit more. It's like the pads coming on allowed him to be a little bit more physical, and he's starting to make more and more of those plays. This was probably his best day of training camp. He actually had an interception in practice today, so that's great to see him getting active. You know, he's been ramping things up. He's been great. He's looking nice out there, and we hope he can continue that level of progress. But him getting an interception today, that is great for him. Another aspect to bring up would have to be Chidobe Awuzie, and he was probably the biggest name to speak of, other than this other person that we'll talk about next. But Chidobe Awuzie was a big factor in just making a lot of stops. You know, he had a pass breakup, and he nearly picked Lamar Jackson off. It should have been an interception. Lamar threw towards his direction and actually went through the hands of Chidobe Awuzie. He should have gotten that interception, but he did make the catch, so it was a near pick. But other than that, Awuzie, he was out there and he was active. And the thing about Awuzie, so far through training camp, at least according to reports, Awuzie has been having a great camp. When he's been out there, when he's been practicing, when he's been performing, he's been great. But it's just making sure he's out there. And, you know, he's been dealing with some injuries himself. But when he's been out there, he's been great. He's been productive. He's been active. And today was a day where he was out there being productive and being active. So that's great to see. The other person I wanted to name today was Beau Brade. I actually forgot to mention him yesterday because he was great yesterday and he was great today. Beau has been brilliant these last 3 days, and it was actually interesting to see that the Ravens went 3 straight days with the pads on. These 3 days with the Ravens practicing with the pads on have been 3 days in which Beau Brade has made his name known. He has been active. He has been everywhere. Yesterday, I forgot to mention this. Yesterday, he had a great stop on Keaton Mitchell, where he just blew him up and just laid him out on the field. He did that again today. I mean, this guy is making play after play after play. He's making stops in the run. He's getting great tackles. He's being physical out there. The pads came on and he certainly ramped up the physicality. He blew up Keaton Mitchell yesterday. He blew him up today. And you know, Keaton Mitchell, he's out there being a great sport about it and just taking those hits because it comes with camp. Apparently, Keaton Mitchell had a touchdown run today, so that's great to see from him. But yeah, Beau Brade has just been brilliant these last few days. He's been great. I believe John Harbaugh also spoke about him as well in terms of what he's been showcasing out there. And it's just great to see him being physical and making plays. So we hope to see more from him in that aspect. Other than that, there's not much left to talk about here. That was pretty much practice. Another day in which the defense dominated and the offense felt sluggish, but it makes sense when you're missing Isaiah Likely and Zay Flowers and Bateman's limited and Ronnie Stanley's limited and a few other individuals are limited. It makes sense that that was the case. But yeah, that ends today's practice, and it was said, or at least it was reported, that this is that tomorrow is not going to be a day with the pads on. They played with the pads on for 3 straight practices today. Not today, but for 3 straight practices, including today, excuse me. So tomorrow they're not going to have the pads on. And honestly, today and tomorrow, because I believe they practice today and then they practice today, they practice tomorrow, and then they practice Friday, because today is pretty much done. So they're going to practice tomorrow and they're going to practice Friday. They have the day off on Saturday because Sunday is when they have their stadium practice. And then I believe after that, I believe they're going to be off Monday, but I have to fully check the training camp schedule. So they may be off Monday, and then Tuesday they have the joint practice with the Colts. Or they may be practicing on Monday, and then they'll also practice on Tuesday with that joint practice with the Colts. So we'll see. Either way, tomorrow and Thursday should be lesser days, more so just, you know, running through the motions. Not going to be highly intense or too intensive out there. And they'll be preparing for that stadium practice on Sunday, and then on Tuesday they'll have that joint practice with the Colts. Now that joint practice is going to give us a great assessment as to where the Ravens are right now in training camp. So how's the offense looking against other teams? How's this defense looking against other offenses? We'll get a great assessment. I cannot wait for that day, because that is going to be a day where we can get a true analysis of where the Ravens stand right now through training camp. So we'll see what happens there. Anyway, guys, that is all I have for today's practice recap. We'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll see what happens then. Until then, be sure to stay safe and peace out.